Now we want to jump into some of the data sources and how we design the studies within the science of epidemiology. So where do we collect our data? Some of the data that we just saw, where does that stuff come from? Well, you can get it from individuals through surveys or questionnaires. A lot of times as a CHW, you interact with people in that way. You're going to ask them to fill out a survey during an interaction. Other times we can take samples from an environment if we're looking for environmental data. If we're studying healthcare providers as a whole, we might look at what is happening within a health department and try to look at how many cases of a certain disease are observed within a certain amount of time. Another non-health related source, you may be looking at sales records, court records, to try to derive some kind of health data from them. Say, if it's court records, it's the amount of intoxicated driver arrests, or sales records, you might be looking at the amount of cigarette sales within a certain period. This will tell you something about a population within a certain amount of time. And it's important that you understand there's a lot of different ways that we can collect data, or that ways that can lead us towards a certain action. Based on that data, we can make studies, or this is another way that we can collect that data. And those studies are conducted to discover the associations between an exposure or risk factor and a health outcome. So we're usually trying to determine what's causing a relationship between two different groups. For example, take somebody who has diabetes and who does not, and observing their exercising patterns. But we have 3 types of studies here that we're going to discuss a little more in depth. The first of those is a cross-sectional study. In this kind of study, subjects are selected because they are members of a certain population subset at a certain time. When we talk about a cross-sectional study, think about just a snapshot of a population. It's like you took a Polaroid and you're looking at that Polaroid and counting the people and making your assessments, and you're collecting your data based on who is in that picture. A cohort study, subjects in a cohort study are categorized on the basis of their exposure to one or more risk factors. So in this kind of study, we would start with a specific population. Again, talking about diabetes, we would see who is physically active and who is not, and then track which of those people develops diabetes over time. So really looking at a group of people and just studying them over time, taking that cohort, that group. Finally, a case control study in which subjects identified as having a disease or condition are compared with subjects without the same disease or condition. So, taking diabetes as an example again, you would take a group of people who have diabetes and another group who doesn't, and then we would categorize their activities. What does this group do that this group doesn't do? Maybe what this group is eating is different from what this group is eating. So deriving different comparisons between one or more groups. And that's it for epidemiology. We're going to have a quick discussion and knowledge check.